Okay, the From Above project. Up to now we should have completed a shaded section and a pencil crayon section. Very similar materials, both in the pencil form. Obviously the shading one we're looking at light and dark, and in the coloured crayon one we're looking at different intensities of colour and also swapping the colours per section. Okay, a little bit easier using the pencil crayon rather than the shading, because different colour you immediately get that difference. First job today is to make sure that you complete those two. If you do complete those two, the next thing you're going on to is a painted version. And what I want you to do here is, well, first of all, you're going to draw out a new layout on your page. If you notice, what I've done is I've rotated that round again a quarter of a turn to get that image there. And we're going to be using these paints here. These are block watercolour paints. They are dry at the moment, okay. They only become colour transferable when you add water to them using a paintbrush. I will add there, that's quite important. What you don't do when you're adding water is you don't pour the water onto the paint. That just creates a heck of a mess. Goes everywhere. We don't need that. And it also makes your paint very thin. All you need to do is get water on your brush and wipe it on the surface of the paint, and that will send it to its liquid form. And you get a good coating on your brush. What you then do is we're then going to look at transferring it to here. So what you're doing now is you're going to paint it on very carefully using your brush there, going along the edge. Now what I want you to notice that I'm doing there is I am working with the tip of my brush to the edge of the shape, and I'm painting around the inside of that shape first of all. So important that you get a nice neat edge, and using the brush tip will do that. If that means that you have to rotate your paper around whilst you're doing it, well, do it. If it gives you a good finish, do it like that. Okay. Some people try and do it where they, if they're painting to that edge, they paint along with the paintbrush like that, with the points up here, and they're guessing with the back edge of the paintbrush where it's going to go. It's that line. As you can see there, if I put different pressure on, it goes all wobbly. Okay, that's no good. That's no good at all. You only guarantee getting up to the edge if you're working with the point, because you're in total control. On the case of being in control as well, just notice that when I'm painting, I'm resting my hand on the table. That gives much more control when you're brushing. You can't paint with your hand just waving in mid-air. But with it on the table, and then just moving my fingers and my thumb to paint that section in. Can you see there when it starts dragging? That means you've not got enough water in your paint. You need to load up your brush again, and you need to then, that's it, that goes on much better like so. Okay, so you're going backwards and forwards. Once you've gone around the outside edge, you're filling in the rest of it. Stroking the paint on the paper. It's called brush strokes. It's called that for a reason, because you're stroking it on. You get a nice neat finish on there. Obviously here I'm also going to have to go around that little H section on there, because that's going to be painted a different colour. So working into there, again going around the edges and filling it in like so. And you just complete that nice and carefully. We're looking for careful, neat painting. If you then finish one section and you want to paint the next section, please don't paint next to the bit you've just done. Because if I was to paint next to that with some yellow, the yellow's wet, the red's wet, when the paint touches, it goes into each other. It's a mess. So what you have to do is look for a different area, let that dry, and whilst it's drying you can paint another section. Final thing I will say is if you want to get different colours than are on the block here, you can mix colours. Okay, you'll need a mixing tray like that there. And if I wanted to, say, make an orange, what I would do, red and yellow makes orange. Start with the lighter colour, put the lighter colour on your mixing tray first, and then you add a little bit of the darker colour to it until you get it to the correct colour that you want. So we've got a nice orange colour there. I go back to my picture, I'm now seeing here the red's now dry, so I can now paint the orange in there. So important that when you're mixing colours you use the lighter colour first and then you add the darker colour to it. Really is important that you remember that. Okay, let's see what you can do. Carry on.